Hey guys, we're up to example 9, last part, and let's look at actually example 8 right before we get to example 9, because we're just going to look at the textbook for example 9. One thing I just wanted to emphasize, if I haven't really gotten the point across yet, is that if your original value is -1 plus 0i, any one of these, z1, z2, z3, whether it's in standard or polar form, if you raise them to the third, you will get -1. In fact, z2 in its polar form, in standard form, -1 times -1 times -1, that's -1, right? But let's look at it in its polar form. z1 is in the direction 60 degrees, right over here. So 60 times 3 is 180, right? Here's 60, 120, 180, and then you're right at -1. -1 again is where z2 sits on top of. z2, if you think about from a polar perspective, its angle is 180. So 3 times 180, well, 180 plus another 180 plus another 180 ends up back at -1. 300 degrees, I'm going to cheat and say 300 is the same as -60. -60 times 3, -60, -120, -300. Well, again, that ends up at -1. So just to get that point across. With the eighth roots of unity, oops. Oh, and you know what? I made a mistake. Example 8 isn't a roots of unity, is it? No, I was wrong. Because the cube root, we're taking the root for -1. It's not a root of unity. So that is my error. Example 9 is the high and mighty roots of unity, because we are taking the roots for 1. And if you take the 100th root of 1 or 1000th root of 1, it's 1, but you have all these complex answers that also get you 1. And so you just want to make sure you understand that a real number 1 could be written as 1 plus 0i with a 0 imaginary component. It's in the direction of 0 degrees or 0 radians, so it would be cosine 0 or I sine 0. You can use the formula, but at the end of the day, notice you start at 0. It's 360 degrees divided by 8. So that means you have separating angles of 45 degrees between all the roots. So the first one starts at 0 divided by 8, which is just 0. So it's cosine 0 plus I sine 0. Then and that's where you get that first root that we all know, which is 1, right? The eighth root of 1 is just 1 in the first number in our head. But then you add 45, so that's pi over 4. You add another 45 or add 90 to get to z3, and then that's pi over 2. You add another 90 or pi over 4. You add another 90, and then you add another 90, add another 90, add another 90, or you can say you add a pi over 4, add a pi over 4, add a pi over 4. You guys get the idea, and I think you hear some stuff going on in the background. So if you have any questions about how to get the rest of this, feel free to email me and let me know. All right, take care, guys.